The following is an exclusive presentation of Jesup Broadcasting, the sports leader in Southeast Georgia.
World famous. The world famous Butch and Bob Show.
And good morning to you. You're listening to the world-famous Butch and Bob Show right here on WIFO FM in Jesup 105.5 on your FM dial. Butch Shepard here with you along with Bob Morgan on this Tuesday morning, the 26th day of March. And Bob, we're going to get right into the Butch and Bob Show because Senator Blake Tillery has lined up another special guest with us. Last week it was the governor. This week, Bob, it is...
We got Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan on the phone with us along with Blake. Blake, appreciate you lining us up.
Hey, thank you, Bob. Appreciate Lieutenant Governor Duncan for joining us this morning. I'll jump in first if you want to and tell you a little bit about the day and then hand it over to Lieutenant Governor if you'd like.
That's fine. We're the envy of all radio stations across the state of Georgia. And they found out we had the governor last week, and they're probably going to be mad when we got the Lieutenant Governor this week. So.
Hey, well, you say that. Let me tell you this, though. Both times when I walked into their room and I said, I want you to be on a radio show, both of them went, Butch and Bob? So that was unsolicited.
That's why it's world.
Unsolicited both times. Today in the Senate, we got 15 bills on the calendar, just picking one or two that I think will be of interest. I know a lot of our independent pharmacies have contacted me repeatedly about different things that deal with pharmacy benefit managers. There's going to be one bill on the floor today. A second bill passed out of committee yesterday, and I'll be on the floor. It'll help our independent pharmacies who employ a lot of folks in our neck of the woods. I mean, I think you and I and many others have had a cup of coffee at Jones Drugs over the years. So I know the Lions Club this morning will be happy about that. And then also we've got the hemp farming bill. It's come over from the House. Representative Corbett sponsored it over there. It'll be on the Senate floor today. I expect it'll pass as well. Give our farmers another potential source of revenue. And hemp, as we know, you've got to smoke a room full of it for it to have any type of effect with THC. So there's not that issue there. And at the same time, it has industrial uses. So look forward to seeing those and the other 13 bills we've got coming across today. But, again, the biggest thing about this morning's show, I appreciate Lieutenant Governor Duncan joining us, and pitch it to him and let him talk a little bit about what's going on here, let you ask him some questions. I know y'all got that baseball connection, Bob.
Well, before I get that, I want you to, on Monday, the governor's Medicaid waiver plan got approved, and you made a version of it that's getting some notoriety. We had it on the news today, Medicaid funding bill that was loaded with new transparency provisions. Tell us a little bit about that and what you're asking for.
That was, I carried the governor's waiver bill, as we talked about many times before. What it did is two things. For the first time, it allowed us to reform what many people in our neck of the woods believe is a broken system with Medicaid. We got 2 million Georgians roughly on it, and what we looked at with that waiver provision is for the first time having something like work requirements, co-pays, incentives to receive primary care. And on the second side, the back side, the side that helps most of the folks in our areas, is the fact that they're paying 2 and 3 times their monthly mortgage for health care insurance, not for deductibles. We're talking about premiums. And we got to drive and have live in Long, Toombs, Tattnall counties, how that frees up income for other things they need to be spending their money on, like homes and school for their children and cars and saving for a rainy day. The other bill you asked about yesterday, you're right, I carried a bill in for the governor that put transparency provisions for the first time on some nonprofit hospitals. Up here, the nonprofit hospitals have a whole lot of profit. One of the other things we saw is roughly 30 to 40% of their care isn't people in metro areas. It's folks coming from our neck of the woods driving to them. So that's, again, taking another people who would have insurance paying clients out of Wayne County, out of Toombs County, out of Appleton and Jeff Davis counties. So what we're asking is, hey, disclose what you're doing. If you're buying up property down there with this nonprofit money, please disclose that. If you're paying folks millions of dollars on your boards, we kind of need to see that just to make sure. If we're going to put $11 billion into health care, into Medicaid in Georgia, we want to make sure that those Medicaid dollars are reaching providers, not reaching to build up a quote-unquote nonprofit.
Again, if you can give us the Lieutenant Governor, he's all on board on that. Lieutenant Governor, we quoted you today, and hopefully this quote is correct. Sometimes you see quotes you just don't know, but you said you're a big opponent of this. You said that Atlanta hospital conglomerates really going to You said, why would big Atlanta hospital conglomerates oppose $900 million of Medicaid dollars? Because they're opposed to basic transparency. If so, it makes you wonder what they're hiding. Is that correct?
Yeah, no. So many people watch my Twitter account, but I guess they do now.
Right.
But no, look, here's the deal. It was a great policy position to put forward. The provider fee was a bill that's been in place, or a program that's been in place going back about a decade. And we just attached simple transparency language that I think most folks walking around Georgia would expect a nonprofit to be exactly that. And so just a little transparency I don't think hurts anybody, and puts us in a good position going forward. Hopefully we'll see the bill pass through the Senate and go back through the House and be on the governor's desk, and then we can move forward with this issue.
Well, this is the first time I had a chance to talk to you since you got elected. We had you on the Butch and Bob Show a couple of times, got to meet you and got to hear your story. You got a good baseball background, and a lot of people were happy about that. But how's it going up there in Atlanta as a lieutenant governor? How's the first go-around going?
Well, it's absolutely exactly what I expected. It's an opportunity to come in here. And, this job has three roles. One is the presiding officer of the Senate, and that's just to manage the debate on the floor. The other is to really weigh in on the policy. And the third is to manage, personalities and expectations. And, it's just it's been great to surround I learned this lesson early on in the private sector, is to surround yourself with the best and brightest to help you through your day. And that's one of the reasons why Blake is so close to me, because Blake has the ability to understand the policy about as well as anybody who walks into this building every day. And he also understands the gravity and the weight of each and every bill that we pass up here. And so having him close to me is something that I value tremendously.
And if you're just joining us, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan on the phone with us from Atlanta on the world-famous Butch and Bob Show. Yeah, and the big story in Atlanta, some controversial bills. The biggest is the heartbeat bill. Explain where we're at on that, and the governor's really pushing this, and it looks like it is going to pass, right?
Yeah. So this is a really important bill for me personally, and I think it's been a great opportunity for us to really walk through what I believe has been a very, very deliberate process over the last few weeks on this heartbeat bill. We had a very, very serious debate on Friday in the Senate. It took a long time, but it was one I'm proud of. The debate that we had. It was very civil. There was no disruptions, and it was a very good back and forth between proponents and opponents of the measure. It successfully passed the Senate, now goes back to the House for a quick, hopefully, agree, and we'll be able to get it to the governor's desk and be able to move forward.
And for those unfamiliar with it, explain what the bill is.
Well, essentially says it recognizes the fact that as soon as a heartbeat's detected in an unborn child, as soon as a heartbeat's detected, then no longer would abortion be an option for somebody just wanting to walk in and have an abortion.
Another topic we've been following, and again, I'm not sure where it stands, but there was a discussion about the legislature taking over the City of Atlanta Airport. Where's that stand at this time? And the governor's never weighed in on that. Have you weighed in on that? Do you have a position on that?
Well, look, and throughout the off session, and we pulled a bill together, and when we initially looked at it, when he introduced the measure, there was 30 co-signers of the measure. We brought that bill forward in the Senate. It overwhelmingly passed the Senate and has gone over to the House. I don't think they've yet taken the measure up in the House. I think he's continuing to look for vehicles and opportunities to take another swipe at that. But it has absolutely opened up a vigorous conversation here. I think we all realize that on both sides of the issue how important the Atlanta airport is to the overall economy here in Georgia, and we've got to get that right. We have to make sure that it's not wrought with any sort of fraud or illegal activity, and so I think the senator has definitely brought some light to that issue.
Now, we always read about the governor's agenda. We don't ever hear about the lieutenant governor's agenda. Do you have an agenda, things that you'd like to see get past this session, or are you just on board with the governor's agenda? How's that work?
Well, no, look, I'm proud to partner with the governor. He's been obviously a good friend throughout this entire process of crisscrossing the state for the last 2 years, trying to each win our respective positions. But look, we are firmly lined up behind a couple of really big ideas. We need to get the health care right. I believe 11 million Georgians, both Democrats and Republicans, care about getting health care right here in Georgia, and
and he is firmly committed, along with ourselves here in the Senate, to trying to get this healthcare situation in a place that I think Georgia can ultimately be a leader nationally. I think other states are going to look at what we're doing with this waiver program that Senator Tillery carried and successfully got across the Senate floor and has navigated through the House now, and the governor's going to sign it. But I believe other states are going to point to the innovation that we're going to put forth around health care. I think we got to continue to look for opportunities to improve education. I look at the education situation through the lens of, I dropped 3 kids off at in the carpool line at our public schools in Forsyth County. I'm proud to do so. I'm a product of the public school system. But we need to continue to look for ways to remove the bureaucratic clutter out of the classroom. And that just doesn't happen with one solution. It's going to happen with continuing to focus on ways to allow teachers to do what they want to do, and that's teach. And so that's just going to be an ongoing effort, and looking for ways to continue to make those improvements. The last thing for me, too, I want Georgia to be the technology capital of the East Coast. And I didn't say Atlanta, I said Georgia. Technology knows no boundaries, and as we continue to grow into the 21st century, every single business is a technology company. And I think if we can continue to strive towards being the technology capital of the East Coast, every single community will benefit from this, because we'll continue to educate our kids to a 21st century standard, train a workforce to a 21st century global economy. And I believe areas like yours and the areas that I live in North Georgia will benefit from this for generations to come.
When you were here on the show, we talk about all the time, there's always that perception there's 2 Georgians, and that's why people in this area are kind of happy that what's going on currently in this legislative session, the fact that Brian Kemp comes to this area quite some time, or many times, and knows the South Georgia area, and he's trying to bridge that gap between North Georgia and South Georgia.
Yeah, look, Brian Kemp and I are both here in these positions of leadership because rural Georgia went to bat for us big time, and believed in our stories and believed that we supported their values. But here's what Brian and I both know. We both know that folks don't live in rural Georgia because they have to. Folks live in rural Georgia because they want to. And I think that's an important data point to know when you're trying to make decisions. We need to look for opportunities to empower your communities to be a part of your solutions. As we look for ways to improve education, improve economic development, and understand the importance of agriculture. That's one of the biggest things for me that just blows my mind, is how many folks up here don't realize how important agriculture is to the overall economy here in Georgia. It's everything. And we need to continue to make sure, but I can assure you that this governor and this lieutenant governor are absolutely paying attention to what rural Georgia's thinking.
What's the update on broadband? That was the big discussion here in our legislative eggs and issues breakfast. Where do we stand on that?
I believe over in the House, they're trying to work through a compromise at this point. I know that it's an important issue. I think we're getting very, very close to having something to roll out. It's about innovation, and it's about dollars. The big bridge to kind of have to build is trying to figure out how to have a business case for some of this broadband to get as deep out and deep out into the rural areas as we can get it. And I think folks are finally paying attention. I'm glad to see us moving from study committees to now into trying to find solutions, and I believe we're headed in the right direction.
And the session's winding down quickly. Give us a preview of these final days. What all is going to take place, and what do you see passing and not passing?
I can assure you that the Lieutenant Governor's office is sitting here scrubbing all the policy as much as we possibly can. I don't really care about somebody outflanking us to the left or to the right. I care about getting the policy right, because the day after session ends, that's what matters. So we're going to pay attention. You're going to continue to look for ways to focus on health care, focus on education, and focus on ways to grow the economy here in Georgia. Those are the big areas that we're focused on. But proud to see some big bills and this direction.
And the Major League Baseball season kicks off this week. Gives a preview of what we can expect from the Atlanta Braves.
Well, proud to the manager, Brian Snitker, came to see us yesterday and got to swap some stories. I gave a story. When I got drafted in 1996 by the Florida Marlins, I reported a rookie ball in Utica, New York, and I was a proud Atlanta Braves fan. and didn't really think anything of it, but I had a Braves license plate on the front of my car. And I was out in the outfield stretching the first day, and the front office came walking out, and they grabbed me and they said, whose car is out there with a Braves license plate? And I said, well, sir, that's my car. And he says, well, here's a screwdriver. Go get the license plate off and bring us $50. You just got your first fine. They took it personal that they were in the same division.
I understand that.
Here's your sign.
You probably got some great stories on, we see the movie Bull Durham, the minor league system on those bus trips. Got any good bus trip stories?
Oh, I got plenty, but this ain't the place to share.
We sure do appreciate you calling in with Blake. Again, it's quite an honor to have you here on the show. Like I said, it was nice to meet you during the campaign. You're always welcome on the world famous Butch and Bob Show, and we thoroughly do appreciate you calling in and being here on the show today.
Well, pays off to be friends with Blake Tillery and be able to get on the show, but looking forward to coming back down there again soon and spending more time with y'all.
Sounds great.
Thank you very much.
Right, have a great day. Thanks, guys.
Take care, Joe. Bye-bye. Thank you, Blake. All right, WIFO 105.5 FM in Jesup, world famous Butch and Bob Show here on the Big Dog. Blake Tillery there, Senator Blake Tillery. Tuesdays with Tillery. Our special guest with him this morning, Lieutenant Governor Jeff Duncan. So we had the governor last week, the lieutenant governor this week. We're going to get the Speaker of the House next week.
Trump's calling in next week.
Trump's calling in next week. Yeah, we're working on that. We got Buddy Carter working on that. Is Buddy line up Trump for us?
Yeah, we'll start that rumor.
Yeah, we'll start that rumor.
That'll be good.
Coming up soon. As soon as we can line up, we'll have the president on with us. Live from wherever he is. Whether it's Florida, Air Force One, Washington, D.C., wherever it may be. But we appreciate the Lieutenant Governor. We had him on several times this past year as he was running for Lieutenant Governor, and so we appreciate him being on the show again with us this morning. Bob, when they're up there in Atlanta like this and during the session, it's quite a commitment to take out 15 minutes out of your time, 20 minutes out of your time to be on a show. We're during the session like this, and last week the governor was having just a good time talking with us, but somebody came into the office apparently and said, "Governor, you got another appointment. We got to go."
Those people are kind of busy up there, so
yes,
we appreciate them taking time out of their schedule to be with us here on the show. But they said we got to meet him during the campaign. I think it was on twice or 3 times during the campaign.
Did we ever have him in the studio with us?
Yeah,
I thought so. I thought he was sitting here. He was talking about his days as a pitcher.
I said we had him several times on the show during the campaign. So
I thought we had him in here.
So it was nice to have him on the show.
Yeah, I think we had most of them in the studio with us. Some of them just by phone, but I remember Jeff Duncan being here when he was running for the primary. And so appreciate them taking the time calling in. They're trying to wrap this thing up. I think the last day of the session is Tuesday, isn't it, Bob?
April the 1st or 2nd, I think is the last day.
I think it's Tuesday. I think that's what Meek said yesterday. Then we'll have Wednesdays with Workizer tomorrow. State Representative Bill Workizer will be on the air with us tomorrow morning right here on the world famous Butch and Bob Show. I was thinking about asking a question about the Braves, but you did it before I did. He's from the Alpharetta area up there, and so he grew up as a Braves fan. He was a pitcher there at Georgia Tech, drafted by the Florida Marlins, and so baseball is his passion. I was going to ask him how he thought the Braves were going to do this year, but kind of ran out of time.
I said he was a very talented pitcher coming out. Like I said, had a good career at Georgia Tech. Like I said, drafted. So I said, I just like to have heard some of those stories, those minor league stories on those bus trips. There's always,
Yeah, that'd be an after hour sitting around, sitting around the house just talking about top stuff.
I remember Dustin. Like I said, when Dustin finally made it to the major leagues, that's what he said. It was so different. He said he didn't realize that you didn't have to worry about taking your bags to the motel. They took them for you. He was looking for his bag, and they were like, "What are you doing?" He said, "I'm looking for my bags." He said, "Somebody else got that here."
That's right. You're the show now.
And he's just, brand new balls, everything. He said it's a totally different situation. But when you're in the minor league, you've got to fend for yourself.
Well, it's like I was watching.
Got to worry about meal money, the whole 9 yards.
I was watching, I guess a couple of months ago, Foul Ball, and you remember that one where you had Martin Sheen as the flamethrower and Tom Berenger as the old.
You mean Major League?
Major League, excuse me. Major League. Yeah, I'm sorry, I got the wrong one. Major League, because Major League 2 was not really good. But Major League, the first Major League was, kind of like Bull Durham in a sense. It was funny. But you had Tom talking about, or the character, the catcher there with bad knees, talking about, I think he was in the show for like 30 days or something like that, and he was telling those young rookies, what it was like, the difference between there and the farm system, and some of the same things you just mentioned right there in Major League. That was a good movie. Yeah. Major League, Bull Durham, a couple of good baseball movies. Did you like The Natural with Robert Redford?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That was a good one too.
Field of Dreams is still my favorite, though.
Field of Dreams with Kevin Costner? Yeah.
That's just a great movie.
What is it with him in baseball movies, huh?
That's a great movie, though.
Yeah. Yep, it is. Speaking of movies, there's one to come out soon with Brad Pitt and DiCaprio about the time that the Tate murders happened with the Manson family all back in 1969.
Oh, really?
Yeah, there's a lot of big stars now. Leonardo DiCaprio and then Brad Pitt, and I mean it's who's in that movie. And I was reading an article that they said a party like it's 1969, and it has. Everything evolves around the Tate murders and the Manson family and all that back in L.A. back in a party year, 1969. And Bob, this is the 50th anniversary of Woodstock. Everybody from our generation back then. You think that everybody in the world went to. Yeah, I was at Woodstock. Yeah, there was about 400,000 of us out there, 500,000. And. I remember listening back then to when they finally came out with the album on it, the live album from it and everything. And so the 50th anniversary of Woodstock this August. And so a lot of things are being prepared for it. They're going to have another concert up there with some older artists and some new artists up there. So. But you're 5 years younger than I am, so that was a little more out of your time period, yeah. Yeah, you're 5 years younger, so you weren't quite involved with it. But, of course, living here in Jesup, Georgia, you really didn't think of the historical importance of Woodstock, being here in a small community, conservative small community. But, boy, that was a major event up there. And there's been several of them like that since then. Well, Bob, we got our Braves schedules in today. Or actually, we got them in yesterday. So we'll get these out to the sponsors and here at Big Dog Country Radio. So the official Atlanta Braves baseball pocket schedule folds up. We're nice and neat. Goes in your wallet, pocketbook, wherever you want it. Or you can put it on the refrigerator, whatever the case may be. And so if you'd like to have an official 2019 Atlanta Braves baseball schedule, you can come here to the radio station, and we'll let you know where you can go pick them up in town. And looking forward to an exciting Atlanta Braves season this year. Starts Thursday in March this year. Everything seems to start a little earlier than Bob, And so it starts on Thursday. Let's see, when's the first home game? Yeah, if we go there, Cincinnati for a couple.
Monday.
Yeah, next Monday.
April 1st.
Yeah, April 1st, Chicago. And but there's Cincinnati Thursday. No, that's not right. No, Philadelphia. Excuse me, Philadelphia. Philadelphia on Thursday, Philadelphia on Saturday and Sunday. Always at the beginning of the season they have that open date between the in the three games, just in case of weather. You never can tell what the weather's going to be like in Philadelphia right here at the end of March. And then of course next week they'll be at home taking on Chicago, and then Cincinnati for just one game. No, Chicago. I can't read that. What does that say? Holy moly. Chicago for 2 games, then Miami. So Atlanta Braves season beginning on Thursday against Philadelphia on the road. And so did Jonathan say he's going to mention his prediction for this year?
He's going to give us our prediction on how many games they win tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they got it within one last year.
Yeah, they won the division last year, and
he didn't pick that though. He leaves that out.
Yeah, so. And Snicker won Manager of the Year for the National League, and so exciting times for the Braves. We get back to where they were in the 90s, hopefully, and so things are looking up. And, of course, you can listen to the games right here on 105.5 FM, and when you don't hear it on our FM station, we'll have it on our AM station, Fox Sports Radio, 1370 AM, The Buzz, WLOP.
It should be in for a good year.
Yeah.
A lot of talent.
Yep.
So,
And if your business or organization would like to help bring the Braves to Southeast Georgia, be part of exciting Atlanta Braves baseball and Major League Baseball, and reach thousands of fans here in Southeast Georgia with your advertising message, whether for a business or organization, all you have to do is to email us at bigdogstaff@bellsouth.net, bigdogstaff@bellsouth.net, or give us a call at 912-427-3711, 427-3711. We'll get the Atlanta Braves sponsorship information to you, and you can make a decision whether you'd like to be part of exciting Atlanta Braves baseball and reach thousands of folks in Southeast Georgia with your advertising message. Just give us a call, folks. We've got a couple more slots opened up. All right, anything else on your mind this morning, Bob? Anything happening that you want to talk about? I've got a ribbon cutting this morning at the hospital, the Wayne Memorial Hospital.
Cancer Center opening up, which will be a nice addition to Wayne County. I said a lot of people will be able to do their treatments right here in Wayne County, don't have to travel out of town to get that. Center will open up to treat patients the first week of April, which is right around the corner. So if you need an appointment, you can call 912-810-2273. 2273 stands for CARE, and the ribbon cutting today at 10 a.m. for the Nancy and J.C. Lewis Cancer and Research Pavilion at the hospital. So that takes place today at 10 a.m.
Okay. Sounds good, Bob. You have a great day. Bye-bye. 105.5 FM in Jesup, Big Dog Country Radio, world-famous Butch and Bob Show, brought to you by Mike Bridge Ford in Blackshear, by the Wolf Animal Hospital on West Cherry Street in Jesup, downtown Jesup, the Women's Health Center on Cherry and Broad, and in downtown Jesup, Murphy Builder Supply on Northeast Broad Street.
The world famous Butch and Bob Show.